You're watching The Legal Breakdown. Glenn, Donald Trump put his desperation on full display in court in D.C. today. This is the day we've been waiting for, as Jack Smith already filed his 180-page brief. Today was the deadline for Trump to file his motion opposing Jack Smith's brief. So this is the day we've been waiting for here. What did Trump just do?
You know, this is the Hail Mary pass to end all Hail Mary passes. This is the most desperate pleading I've ever seen. And I've thought about it, I've read it a couple of times, and I think I feel compelled to call it what it is, Brian. This is 7 pages worth of garbage. Jack Smith filed a mega brief because that's precisely what the Supreme Court, in substance, directed Jack Smith to do. They said, listen, Judge Chutkan has to litigate the issue of which of Donald Trump's crimes might have been official presidential acts such that he gets immunity, he can't be prosecuted, and which ones are not official presidential acts such that he can be prosecuted. To engage in that litigation, Jack Smith needed to give Judge Chutkan all of the evidence so she can make that all-important decision that the Supreme Court told her to make. And Donald Trump, ever since, has been desperate not to let the information, the evidence about his crimes make their way into the public record. So he just filed 7 pages of, I'm going to say it again, garbage, by which he said, basically he makes 3 primary arguments. First, he says, well, wait a minute, Jack Smith changed his position. Previously, Jack Smith said evidence shouldn't be revealed publicly before the trial. So the legal response to that, Brian, is, duh, circumstances have changed. That's why Jack Smith has changed his position. Jack Smith took the position that I took in virtually every case in 30 years as a prosecutor. You don't reveal evidence until you have to litigate issues, which usually means in a pretrial motion or at trial. Why? Because we don't want to show our hands. Right. We don't want to put witness information out into the public square before it's necessary. The thing is, it is now necessary because the Supreme Court told him to do it. So that is an absurd argument that Jack Smith changed his position from saying, I don't want information prematurely disclosed to the public before the Supreme Court told him to do it, and now he is doing precisely what the Supreme Court directed. So that is a garbage argument. The second argument they make, they say Jack Smith is inconsistent because he wants everything sealed in the Florida case, the Florida Classified Documents Obstruction of Justice espionage case, which for the minute is dismissed and is pending appeal. It will be reversed by the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, I'm confident, and restated, so we'll get back on the trial track. So Donald Trump says, wait a minute, he wants everything sealed down there, and that's inconsistent with him saying in the D.C. case, evidence should now be unsealed. Okay, it's the same legal response to that argument, duh, because one, that doesn't involve presidential immunity. Those are crimes Donald Trump committed after he left the presidency, so they don't have to litigate this whole immunity issue. And two, it's a dramatically different case because remember, what Donald Trump stole from the federal government were classified documents, including some of our nation's most closely guarded military and national security secrets. Of course, Jack Smith doesn't want that evidence and information to get out prematurely or perhaps ever, because when you litigate classified information cases, often you mask, even for the jury, what the true nature of the information is. So that, again, is an absurd argument. It's a garbage argument. And the third, Brian, is probably the kicker. And I know we are living in a post-irony world, but the third reason Donald Trump says you can't possibly disclose this evidence publicly is because Donald Trump just wants to protect the witnesses. The witnesses who incriminate him, the witnesses who he, Donald Trump, had to be gagged to stop from endangering. He just doesn't want them to be put in harm's way. So gosh darn it, Judge, don't release this evidence. That's why I say, Brian, and I don't often use this word to describe a legal filing by anybody, this is garbage.
When the Trump team submits a response like this, that's almost a slap in the face to the judge by virtue of how absurd it is, by virtue of how disingenuous it is. Does that actually undermine their ability to advance their own cause? Like if they see that Donald Trump wants to protect the witnesses when this is the guy who he himself had to be gagged because he was so aggressively trying to put those same witnesses' lives in danger, doesn't that just show the judge that these are fundamentally unserious people who aren't taking the process, who are almost like making a mockery of the entire process and of the court?
Not only does it show that to the judge, but it makes the judge's job easy. There are no principled objections in this 7-page filing. So here's what the judge may do, and what I suspect she will do. She will look at Donald Trump's filing and his objections to all of this evidence now being made public so she can go about litigating the way the Supreme Court told her to. She can simply say, I've read your 7-page filing. There's nothing in there that is persuasive. So I am accepting and adopting Jack Smith's position, including his proposed redactions, and I am ordering it to be filed on the public docket. We could see that very quickly, frankly, within 24 hours of this Trump opposition being filed with her. Let me just quote one thing that they say in this pleading, because this will give our viewers a sense of the kind of arguments that Donald Trump's lawyers put in there, apart from the 3 absurd arguments we just reviewed. They claim that Jack Smith's filing is a, quote, politically motivated manifesto to the public. I mean, this is the kind of inflammatory nonsense, again, that sounds more like a Donald Trump 2 a.m. unhinged social media post than anything that is befitting of a legal pleading.
Okay, so Glenn, at this point now, what can we expect from Judge Chutkan, and how is the fact that we also have another hearing coming up on October 10th, how is that going to play into things here?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know precisely what Judge Chutkan is thinking on the timing front, though she set 2 deadlines, right? Today, October 1st, was the first deadline for Trump to lodge his objections to the redactions that Jack Smith proposed for the motion. That is the narrative about the crimes of Donald Trump. She set a second deadline, October 10th, for Trump's objections to the redactions in the appendix. What is the appendix? It's all of the evidence that has been attached to the motion, grand jury transcripts, FBI write-ups, recorded interviews, and the like. And so that is a whole big batch of evidence that basically supports what Jack said in the motion. So there will be a second motion filed, presumably on October 10th, for Trump to lodge his objections to the stuff in the appendix. But here's the thing, Brian. There is nothing saying that she can't decide the October 1st issue right now and order that the motion be filed on the public docket, and then when she gets Trump's objections on October 10th, which will probably be equally absurd to what he filed today, she can look at it and say, fine, I reject it, and now I'm ordering the appendix, all of the evidence filed on the public docket. So, I am not calling this an October surprise because that connotes a political maneuver. This is the court acting the way courts act. In fact, this is the court doing what she, Judge Chutkan, is required to do by the Supreme Court's directions on remand. She doesn't have any other alternative but to do what she's been ordered to do by the Supreme Court.
Okay, so just to summarize here, Jack Smith submitted his motion, his 180-page filing. He included certain redactions. Donald Trump's team came in and said that they requested more redactions. Judge Chutkan can look at this and say, nope, we think that what Jack Smith's team did was adequate, and I'm going to go ahead and release this right now to the public docket so that everybody can view it. Or she can decide to do whatever Donald Trump's team wants to do in their favor, but that's what we're going to be waiting to find out either in minutes or hours or days from now. Does that about summarize it?
Exactly. And if she finds anything in these 7 pages persuasive, and I predict she won't, she can say, you know what, you have a good point, Jack Smith. Please redact the following 10 things that Donald Trump complains about, and then I'll order it released. So one way or another, it sounds like we should be seeing much more information about the democracy-busting January 6 crimes of Donald Trump very soon.
Okay, well, we will, of course, keep a close eye on that, and as soon as that 180-page filing is released, we'll come back on and talk about that. That is big news as we await that filing's release here. So again, for those who are watching right now, if you want to stay on top of this issue, please make sure to subscribe. I'll put the links to both of our channels right here on the screen. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
And I'm Glenn Kirshner.
You're watching The Legal Breakdown.